everyone, it's Sharana from Pay Your Weight. Today, I am going to be reviewing the Apple TV Plus series Defending Jacob, Episode 8, the season finale. After, you guys, I am shooketh. I had to check to make sure my edges was still here because it took all my edges away. I was really tense. I was really scared. I didn't know what the heck was going to happen. Just when I thought that things were going to be happy, because we open up the episode where we see that Andy is laying on the couch. He gets his phone call. It's early in the morning. He's been woken up out of his sleep from a phone call from Joanna to let him know that Leonard Patz has confessed to the murder of Ben Rifkin. So we saw in the end of last week's episode that we saw Patz crying, writing this letter saying, I killed Ben. Now, a lot of people was like, hold up, wait a minute. I don't think he did it. I think Jacob did it still. I don't know what he's confessing to, but we get a little more clarity on what actually happened to Leonard that night as he confessed. So I was really shocked because, I was shocked that people were clapping when Jacob got off. So when Jacob got off, everybody clapping the thing. I was like, hold up, y'all. Don't be sitting up here clapping if you wasn't clapping for me or you had my back when I was on trial for murder, okay? Because just yesterday, you guys thought I was a murderer, okay? But look at me now. I'm a free man, all right? But did y'all see Raggedy Judah's face? Y'all saw his face when he said, you're a free man, you good to go? He was looking rather salty, especially looking salty at the Lynn up here talking about, I am so sorry to the Rifkins, to the Barbers. I said, Lynn, that's all you got to say? After everything that you didn't put Andy through? That's all you got to say? But you know what? Just the look on little Judas's face when he saw that she had to make an apology, I was just like, you know what? That's all that I needed. I was like, you know what? The Barbers, they're free. They can go live their best lives, do whatever they want to do, because you know what? Y'all took them through all of that for nothing. But was it? This is where things started to get interesting. So we see that when they go to the parking lot, they're kind of celebrating. They're thanking Joanna because she did the dang on thing. Joanna, if you're watching this, I know you're not a real person, but if you are a real person, can you just help me argue away my Sally Mae loans? That's all I'm saying. But we see that as they're kind of having this congratulatory conversation amongst them, we see that Dan Rifkin just rolls up on him. Then he pulls out a gun like, I know you did it. But then what happened? My homie Father O'Leary, he wasn't my homie last episode, but he my homie now because he was trying to protect the Barbers. He pinned him to the car, but Lori told him, he was like, what do you want me to do? Lori's like, let him go. Lori's like, he's been through enough. Let this man live. He still doesn't have his son. Just let him do him. She's like, I'm not going to block my blessings after I have this celebratory win right now. That's not what she said, but I'm just saying it for her. So we see that he's still on. So I'm trying to figure out, we basically found out that Father Larry is a friend of his dad. So we were kind of right with that prediction that he was going to have some type of connection to his father. He was like, hey, I'll do anything for Billy. Tell your dad, what's up? So he just lets it go. They go do what they're doing. And then we see that, they end up just, he starts talking about what happened. Because I'm still kind of like, well, why is he on this grand jury? What is happening? If Jacob got an off for this, then why is Judas still interviewing him to determine if they should go to trial? What is that necessarily for? So we see that the family, they're eating at this diner. We see Lori, Raggedy, little friend Toby. Hey, Raggedy friend Toby. So we see that they're having this discussion. They want to go. They booked a trip to Mexico for Christmas before all of this was happening. So they decided they actually want to go. We see that Toby and her family is at the counter. This is Lori's friend Toby, in case y'all forgot, because she's still Raggedy, but I'm going to let y'all know just in case you guys forgot who she was, because she ain't a real friend. But we see that she kind of sees Lori sees her, but she still doesn't say anything. So this is kind of to show that, even though Jacob is off, things didn't go back to normal. There's still this dark cloud that looms over the family. And I like that they kind of, go through how they really just needed to get an escape to really try to get back to where they once were. So they go to Mexico, and they go to Mexico for Christmas. And we see that, did I lose my place, y'all? I think I lost my place. I'm sorry. I went too fast, you guys. So before all of this, before they make it to Mexico, I'm just trying to speed up to the good stuff. But before they head to Mexico, Lori is really having a hard time. She thought that her child did it. She thought her child was a murderer, and she's trying to really reconcile with the guilt that she feels on the inside, even though she never told Jacob. But I was like, Lori, you didn't have to tell nobody. We could see it on your face that you thought he was guilty. Annie tries to console her. She's looking through his baby book, but you can still tell that it's a sore spot for her. So they kind of have these discussions on how they want to, move away, start a new life. Annie ends up going to talk to Lynn, his former boss at the DA. And she basically asks him, like, hey, do you want to stay? Neil is trying to go to the private sector. But he was like, you know what? I just can't do this. Like, since I've been on the other side, I just don't have the stomach to continue to do this. But I was like, shout out to Andy. How did you get that little hookup? I guess Lynn was like, you know what? You didn't drag my name in mud because you should have dragged her for filth. But he didn't do that because he's a good person. Better than me because you know what? I'm a petty person. I would have dragged her for everything. I would have sued you guys. Give me my money. But we see that he's getting his money anyway because they decided that they were going to continue to pay him until he figures out what he wants to do. He's like, I'm going to take all the time I need. I said, yes, Andy, because if I had that set up, I would be living my best life. So he tells her, like, hey, you should keep Neil because I think he's learned his lesson at this point, and I don't think you should, like, get rid of him yet since Neil was talking about going to the public sector. That's the last time I will ever use his real name because his real name is Judas. So we see that she tells him that, like, hey, we just want to let you know that the Pat's case was wrapped up. And he was like, why is it just now being wrapped up? And then she tells him because, like, a lot of stuff didn't necessarily make sense. So we had to just tie up a couple of loose ends since everything didn't add up when, all of this first happened. So as he's putting his stuff that she gave him, all the stuff from his office into the car, we see that he looks at kind of the little, Chad, I don't know what it's called, something that you use to get the lugs off of your rim. Don't get me to lying. But yes, he remembers Father O'Leary. So he puts it together in his head that, Father O'Leary, when they said, like, hey, he used to be Old Muscle, he's a fixer, they contract him out to handle and clean up messes. So we see that Lori's talking about, like, hey, we're going to get some swimsuits and stuff for the trip. Do you want to come? He's like, no, I got an interview. I said, Andy, I thought we weren't going to be lying anymore. Why are we still lying? Because he was clearly going to go see his dad. And I think that this is a very interesting conversation that he has with his father, and he's clearly upset. He brings up the fact that he thinks that Father O'Leary has something to do with it. Like, tell me what you did. Tell me what you did. And, he's kind of like, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know who this Father O'Leary is. He was like, sir, y'all did time together. Like, why are you lying right now? So the part that really got me is when, we kind of see what really happens with Pat's. So we see that Father O'Leary held a gun to his head, forced him to write the confession, and it seems like he probably lied to him and said, like, hey, you're gonna leave town, we're gonna give you some money, but he ends up strangling him to stage it to look like a suicide. So Pat's killed him, got the confession so he can get Billy's grandson off. And so there's an interesting conversation that takes place, and he tells him, like, because Annie's like, well, I'm going to tell them what happened. And he was like, if you think that they're going to believe this crazy story that you tell them, you go right ahead. But you have a choice on whether or not you could be a good man versus a good father, which is a choice that he didn't have. But you actually have the choice to choose. And obviously being a good man means that you're going to turn your father in and ultimately put your son back on trial, versus just being a good father in his eyes is doing whatever you can, because there's this reoccurring theme throughout the season that Andy is going to do whatever he has to do to protect his son. And so you can tell that Bill knew that he had to get his hands dirty because that's not who his son is, but he wanted to make sure that he protected his grandson from having the same life that he had. And so he felt, in my opinion, that was the last thing that he can do for his son, is to at least be a good father to him by getting his hands dirty to help his grandson. And so he kind of tells him, you see that he kind of has tears in his eyes, and he says, hey, like, it's good seeing you, son. I know this is probably going to be the last time that we see each other, because obviously now that he knows what he did, he's visibly upset. But you tell my grandson, like, if he wants to get to know his grandfather, like, he knows where to find me. And then Andy just walks away. Andy's clearly upset. doesn't really know what to do. We can see that he's kind of very detached. Kind of how we see, not as bad as how we see Lori towards the end of the episode, but Lori can sense that something's wrong with him. She tries to talk to him, and he was just like, hey, my head's just kind of like not in the right place. I'm trying to think about this move. I think that we need to leave and like kind of make a new start. So they kind of make this decision, like as soon as they get back from their vacation, that they're going to put the house up for sale, and they're really going to try to find somewhere fresh where they can have a new start. But Lori says, like, Andy, no more secrets. Like, I wish you would have just talked to me about this before. We said we were going to do things differently this time, but Andy is still lying. Why you lying, Andy? You said no more secrets, but you hiding secrets. So they go to Mexico, and they live in their best lives. It's like Jacob found him a little boo thing, Hope Connors, okay? She knew exactly who he was. However, she still like wanted to get to know him. Lori's having a great time. We finally see her smiling for the first time in Lord knows how long. They're having a great time. But I do want to take a moment to talk about the injustice that happened, okay? We're going to talk about these double standards because we saw Michelle, aka Lori, in her swimsuit, but why we got Chris covered up? Why Andy covered up? You in Mexico. I know you hot in that shirt. I know you hot, boo. Go ahead and take the shirt off. Y'all been running this whole season. Y'all running. Obviously, you're fit. You're in shape. I don't understand why we had a t-shirt on while we were at the pool. I just felt as though it was a missed opportunity. If you feel that I'm upset about it because I really felt like we were done, an injustice. Yes, an injustice was happening. So instead of defending Jacob, we're going to defend Chris's shirt that it shouldn't have been on. But yes, back to what we were talking about. So they end up, they're having a good time. Everything's going great. And then, he asks them like, hey, can we go to this New Year's Eve party? Me and Hope, there's like people hosting this like off the resort. Woo, woo, woo. Parents is like, does the parents know? And I was like, what kind of parents are these? Because, our parents would be like, I need their number, their social security number, their address, their blood type. I need everything before I'm going to let you go to a New Year's Eve party, especially in another country. My mom would be like, hell to the no. She wouldn't say hell to the no because, she's not like that. But I'm just saying, she would have been like hell to the no, but just in a whole different way. She probably would have gave me a Bible scripture to read to tell me why I shouldn't be allowed to go to the party. But they let him go to the party. Lori and Andy, they having a little dinner and stuff. And then Lori was like, he's like, you want me to get another bottle? And she's like, only if you bring it up to the room. I was like, ew, Lori, get you some. You deserve it. You've been going through all of this stuff, all this hardship. You better get you some. Get that back broken for a little minute. But they come back to the hotel room, and guess what? Jacob raggedy behind sitting up there watching TV, talking about how he got into it with the girl, or he was like, oh, well, it was a whole bunch of drunk people. I don't have time for them. And she was like, you changed your shirt. What happened to your shirt? And he was like, oh, I left it on the beach somewhere. So they go to sleep. I was like, dang, Lori is finna get it in. You cock blocked her. So they go to sleep. And then as they're downstairs the next day, the police like brush them at breakfast, and they say that Hope is missing. They obviously think that Jacob has something to do with it. I mean, everyone was thinking that. I was like, clearly you had something to do with this. And so they couldn't leave their rooms. They were like under surveillance and stuff like that. And we see that there's something that happens between Lori and Andy. We see that Lori wakes up in the middle of the night. Andy's kind of out on the balcony. He's been drinking. He's drunk. He's kind of like crying. He's like, I'm sorry. I didn't know. And he kind of tells her what happened. He tells her the truth about, Father O'Leary, his dad, everything. And then she gets upset. She walks off. And, after that, like nothing seemed to be the same. However, Hope did come back. She was still alive. Nothing happened to her. One of the people at the party drugged her. So that wasn't on Jacob. Now, for those of you who have not read the book, this is where things totally, they like deviate from how it happens in the book. And I might do a separate video to let you guys know what happens in the book versus like what happened in the finale, because this is where like a lot of the discrepancies, and I think there are huge discrepancies from how the book ends. But yeah, so they find her, but however, Jacob still looks guilty because it's kind of like, Sarah, why does this always keep happening with you? But as soon as the girl came back, Lori's like, it's time to go. I'm ready to go. They ended their vacation early, went back home, and then we see that Lori is really having a difficult time. She literally looks like a ghost. She looks smaller. She's even more pale than she normally is. Like, you can tell that knowing that the possibility of Jacob actually doing it and the fact that his dad got him off for it, this doesn't sit too well with her. So we see that we see that she tries to go to talk to the Rifkins. So she goes to the Rifkins' house. She tells Andy she's going to run errands or whatnot, and she goes and she's standing outside the door, but she sees, Ben's mom, and she like drops this glass, and then we see she starts crying, and she's holding this glass in her hand, like she's obviously bleeding, but it's like numbing the pain of her losing her son. And so this rattles Lori to the point where she just runs back and gets into her car. And when she comes home, I thought it was a beautifully shot scene between her and Andy. And I like when they pan out and you kind of see like these opposing sides, like, Andy's trying to move forward, but Lori seems to be stuck in the past at this point with the revelation of what Andy's dad did. And so he tells her, like, hey, like, Jacob's worried about you, because he was asking his dad, like, is mom okay? What is happening? But she tells him, like, I don't really know what you want from me right now, but he's like, if you want to take your time, we don't have to do this move right now. If you need time to yourself to try to figure things out, like, let me know. I totally understand. Like, I'll be here. And then he tells her that he loves her. Like, he knows that she might not believe him, or it might not seem to mean that much right now, but he does. And Lori just looks at him and she turns around. She doesn't say, I love you back. She walks up the stairs. And so they kind of had a conversation that she was going to take him to get Jacob his haircut. And so they're driving, and, Lori still looks like this ghost, really, just like she is traumatized from this information that was given to her on New Year's Eve. And so we see that, or New Year's Day at this point. So we see that they're driving, and Lori's like, hey, I know, she's talking to Jacob while he's watching a funny video. And she talks about how, like, hey, I know that I never asked you directly, like, when we were going through all of this, but she asked him, did he do it? And so I think it's very beautifully done, like the tension, how that builds. And, we see that Andy's packing at home while all of this is happening. It's raining outside. She's driving on this 2-lane highway. And we see that Andy's packing. And when he throws something in the trash, we see that he sees that Lori has thrown Jacob's baby book into the trash can. And so this alerts him that something is wrong. And so they're driving. He was like, what are you talking about? And then she starts speeding. He was like, hey, mom, like, you need to slow down. What are you doing? And then he was like, fine, I did it. She's like, did you do it? Like, you could tell me I love you no matter what. He was like, fine, I did it. Whatever you need me to say to stop, like, for you to slow down. And then she's just like, has this realization, like, you're never going to tell me what happened. Like, I'll never know the truth. And so I think when she saw Ben's mom, that she realized that there's nothing that she could say, because at the end of the day, she has her son and she doesn't. So to her, I think that Lori felt the only way to rectify the situation, to help absolve her of her guilt in this situation of not turning Jacob in and telling them what happened, is she literally is driving fast and she runs into the bridge. My heart stopped. I was like, oh my God, what just happened right now? So it's then that we have the realization that Andy is not on trial because of Jacob. He's on trial because of Lori, because they think that it was not an accident, that Lori tried to kill Jacob. They talk about how there were no witnesses or anything like that. And so then we finally understand these flashbacks and what they mean, or, kind of why Andy is telling this story to the jury, is because they're trying to find justice for Jacob. And I think that it's so great when they have Pablo Schreiber's character, Pablo Schreiber, or Neil Judas, when he tells them we have to get justice for Jacob. And it makes me think of defending Jacob in a whole different light, because not only were we defending Jacob to make sure we could see that he's innocent, but I'm sorry, y'all, I'm like still sick. Oh, I've been talking too long. But defending Jacob has taken this new form. I thought that he was dead, okay? That's why I was like, oh my God. We thought we was defending Jacob from this murder trial. We defended Jacob from Lori, his mama. So, I'm so sorry, you guys. I'm so sorry for coughing, but I'm not going to edit this out because I'm tired and I just can't. So, we end up finding out that from Judas, he talks about how Lori actually called Joanna 2 times in the middle of the night at 5 in the morning. She called Dr. Vogel. Obviously, she was spiraling out of control. She wanted to have help. She had no one to talk to. And so they're trying to get Andy to flip on Lori to say that it was not an accident, that she intended to kill Jacob. However, he doesn't do that to his wife. And so we see that they end up saying that he ends up leaving. They call him into the room, and basically they handle the thing where we don't know what's happening, but he ends up going to the hospital where Jacob is in a coma. And then we find out, because it's how Judas is wording things, he's making it seem like Lori isn't alive. But we end up finding out that Lori is alive. I don't think she has memory of necessarily what happened. But she tells Andy, like, what if he thinks I try to kill him? I just want it to be a family again. And you can just see how this is totally shattered Andy, because on one hand, you have this thought that your son is a murderer, and the fact that you telling your wife this lie, like you telling her what happened, like that almost cost you your son and your wife at the same time. And so it's almost as if Andy is to blame for everything, even though it's really Jacob, because I'm going to tell y'all right now, Jacob did that, okay? I'm just letting y'all know, he did that. He did it. Yeah, okay? I don't care what nobody got to tell me, that boy did that. But I thought it was really great. Like, this episode was really great. This is the best episode. This is how you do a finale. It was so good. So many twists and turns, just when you think that everything is going good for the Barber family, how they kind of add this new mystery to everything. Now, I will say, for me personally, I do think that the book had a better ending. Let's just say that everything did not end up peachy for Hope Connors, or Jacob. But I think that even with the changes that they have, I think that it does help me see this title of Defending Jacob in a new light. I think that it was a very well done episode. These last 2 episodes were some of the best episodes of the season. Just a really great series with fantastic performances. Michelle Dockery as Lori was just so amazing. She's so good. Just everyone in this entire cast was just totally amazing. I want to give a shout out to the team for even the changes to bring more inclusion into the story, with the changes of Duffy and Joanna. I thought they did a really fantastic job. Chris Evans is fantastic. Jacob is fantastic. Is it Jacob or Jaden? Don't give me the line. Y'all know who I'm talking about. But I really, really enjoyed this finale. I thought it was a really great series. I'm so sad to see it go. And if you guys have not read the book, Defending Jacob by William Landy, I would definitely recommend that you guys do that. But those are my thoughts, like, on this season finale. What a finale, y'all. Just... whew, I'm so tense. I gotta go get me a drink now, and then also drink some water for this throat. But those are my thoughts on Defending Jacob, episode 8, After. As always, my name is Sharana from Pay Your Weights, and if you like what you saw today, make sure you hit the like button, hit subscribe, share this video with your friends, and make sure you hit the notification bell. And I love you guys 3000. See you soon.